Here's your wrestling news for August 24th, 2022. And we're kicking off with NXT, as on last week's Heatwave special, several NXT UK stars made an appearance on the show. NXT Heatwave ended with NXT UK champion Tyler Bate, whose title win is yet to be aired, confronting NXT champion Bron Breakker, and now we know what's in store for the two. Breakker opened up this week's show by calling out Bate, who did appear, and hyped up the arrival of NXT Europe next year. Bate even proposed a title unification match between him and Breakker, who agreed and noted that Worlds Collide would be the perfect place to do that. When announcing NXT Europe, WWE said that NXT UK would take a brief hiatus, but between releasing over 24 members of the roster and unifying their title with the NXT Championship, all signs point to this hiatus being permanent. Either Breakker or Bate will leave Worlds Collide on September 4th as the undisputed NXT champion, as WWE's battle for viewers against AEW All Out the same day ramped up last night. The NXT and NXT UK championships will be unified at Worlds Collide next week, but they're not the only titles that will become one. During last night's episode, NXT UK Women's Champion Miko Satomura showed up, and she wanted a match with NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose. A title match between the two was confirmed, but it'll be a triple threat match including NXT UK's Blair Davenport, who made her presence felt last week. Again, for all their talk about NXT UK going on a brief hiatus, WWE is certainly acting like the brand is done for good, as the company makes time in its busy schedule for NXT Europe at some point next year. NXT 2.0 and NXT UK are certainly changing, and some big changes are expected on the main roster in the not-so-distant future. Not too long ago, it was reported that WWE was preparing for their annual draft, with the first night expected to take place on the September 9th SmackDown. Several Raw superstars have been booked for the show, and several SmackDown superstars have been booked for Raw, but it seems this isn't the plan. Fightful Select is reporting that sources from the USA Network have spoken to talents and said that the draft isn't scheduled to happen after Clash at the Castle as predicted. In fact, the next WWE draft isn't even expected to happen this year, but the new plan is for WWE to shake up its rosters sometime after WrestleMania 39. WWE's drafts had traditionally been in the post-WrestleMania season until 2019, when they were moved to October, and the crowd will just have to wait longer to see who moves to which brands. Last November, Vince McMahon began an on-screen storyline with Theory, taking the young superstar under his wing. It was while McMahon was running WWE that Theory challenged for the WWE Championship, won the US title, had a WrestleMania moment with Steve Austin, and became Mr. Money in the Bank. Now though, McMahon is gone both on and off screen, leaving many to speculate as to what the future holds for Theory. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said how WWE's plans haven't changed, and that the goal is still for Theory to become a top superstar even after McMahon's retirement. Theory certainly has a lot going for him, boasting an impressive look, physique, and moveset, and at just 25 years old, WWE knows they can get many more years out of him. Vince McMahon may be gone, but Theory is here to stay, and even under Triple H's watch, expect the cocky superstar to hold a world championship soon enough. On this week's Raw, Edge defeated Damian Priest in the Hall of Famer's hometown, but the big story is what happened after the show. In a post-Raw promo, Edge thanked the Canadians in attendance who have supported him and said the next time WWE comes to Canada, he believes that he'll have his last match. Seemingly confirming his retirement, Edge said that WWE usually heads north of the border every August or so, implying that we have just 1 year left before he calls it a career. On his show, Dave Meltzer added credence to the idea that Edge will retire next year, saying that the former WWE champion signed a 3-year deal when he came out of retirement in 2020, which will of course expire at some point next year. Of course, it's worth bearing in mind that Edge may re-sign a new deal to wrestle, as just because he said something this week doesn't mean it's locked in stone. After his retirement in 2011, fans thought they'd never get to see Edge again, but the WWE Hall of Famer now has the chance to end things on his own terms. This week's Raw also saw AJ Styles in action, but the Phenomenal One had to deal with more than just his opponents in the ring. During Styles' match where he teamed with Bobby Lashley to face The Miz and Ciampa, the Phenomenal One was ambushed by someone in the crowd who was quickly tackled by security. While the assailant was unmasked, it was unclear as to who this person was, and that's because they're not part of WWE. According to sources, Rajan Husher was the man who jumped Styles, who both trains and competes for the Battle Arts Academy. Later in the match, the much more recognizable Dexter Lumis appeared in the crowd, ambushing The Miz and dragging him away, and we'll have to see what comes next in this storyline. Lumis certainly made an imposing impression during this week's Raw, dragging the A-lister away to God knows where, but he showed his softer side on last night's NXT 2.0. During the show, Indy Hartwell cut a sad promo in the ring before Lumis appeared, sliding towards her, and the couple embraced in the middle of the squared circle. Lumis and Hartwell had been a couple in NXT 2.0, even marrying on the show's pilot episode last year, but their marriage was ended abruptly when Dexter was released in April. It was great to see the couple back together, even if their reunion was short-lived, as when Lumis carried Indy to the side door of the Performance Center, the blue lights of police could be seen through the glass door. Clearly, the local authorities hadn't taken too kindly to Lumis's abduction of The Miz from Raw, and after a non-verbal goodbye, stepped outside to meet his fate. We'll have to see if Lumis and Hartwell are able to keep the romance going, even with the two on different rosters, but at least for one night, fans got to see Index back on the same page. Over to AEW now, as over the past week, a lot has been said about the company and their world champion, CM Punk. During last week's Dynamite, Punk chose to go into business for himself, burying Hangman Adam Page, knowing that the Cowboy wasn't scheduled to be on the show and wouldn't confront him. Not long after, it was reported that there has been a lot of tension backstage within AEW, and we now know more about the situation. Speaking during the latest episode of Keeping It 100, veteran wrestler Conan addressed the issues in AEW at the moment, which is affecting many on the roster. The last time I was there, bro, you have no idea how many people came up to me and they were pissed about the booking. They weren't happy how they were being used. They were very, very vocal about it. Conan didn't name names as to which wrestlers are unhappy with their booking, but said that one person made it clear that they hope AEW hires Conan himself, saying, "Maybe they'll use somebody that knows how to book logically." Between an unhappy roster, Punk going off script, and Rampage still struggling in the ratings, Tony Khan has his work cut out, as despite All Out being just around the corner, the AEW president likely isn't too thrilled right now. AEW is always looking to bring in new talent, and last week had a former WWE superstar make an appearance. On the August 21st Dark taping, No Way Jose, competing under his real name Levis Valenzuela, teamed with Very Morales in a losing effort to Bear Boulder and Bear Bronson. The match was nothing too special, but how Jose got to the show is under scrutiny. On Facebook, promoter Graham Keem accused the former WWE superstar of flying to Orlando to wrestle for AEW after he had bought him a plane ticket. Keem explained that Jose had agreed to work a show for him in Orlando, and Keem had purchased the ticket for him to fly and work for him, not for AEW. As if that wasn't bad enough, Keem claimed that No Way Jose lied to me all day, and said that by using the plane ticket to go to AEW, the ex-superstar had stole his money. At this time, No Way Jose hasn't responded to this accusation, but if it turns out that his AEW debut did come after using a plane ticket meant for another promoter, this could seriously hurt his chances getting booked anywhere. Since Triple H took over WWE's creative and talent relations, a lot of names have returned to the company. Karrion Kross, Dakota Kai, Hit Row, and most recently Johnny Gargano are just some of the names to return, but not every ex-employee is eager to make a comeback. On April 15, 2020, in the first of what would be a series of mass releases, Mike Chioda was cut from WWE after decades with the promotion, and this week made it clear on ad-free shows that he's not sure about a return. I don't know. I know Vince probably let it go, but I don't know if Vince was the one that picked my name out of a hat during the pandemic and said, "We have to cut Mike Chioda, goddammit." Chioda did acknowledge that things could be different with Triple H now running talent relations, but clearly, being released by WWE after 3 decades of servitude was hard on the veteran official. Since his release from WWE, Chioda has made a handful of appearances for AEW, even officiating the Owen Hart Foundation Men's Tournament Finals in May this year, and while he said last month that he's now retired, who knows what the future will bring for Mike Chioda. More from NXT 2.0 next, as during last week's Heatwave, Santos Escobar lost to Tony D'Angelo in a loser leaves NXT match. given that just days earlier at the WrestleMania 39 ticket launch, Escobar had teased joining the main roster. His loss wasn't a huge shock, but it looks like he won't be going alone. On last night's show, Escobar pulled up in his SUV in the parking lot, where he was greeted by Joaquin Wilde, Cruz del Toro, and Elektra Lopez, who had worked with him in Legado del Fantasma. Asking the trio if they really thought he was going to leave without them, Escobar said that his La Familia stays together, and the stable drove off together. After Escobar's loss last week, the fate of Legado del Fantasma had been uncertain, and it had been reported that Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde had been doing live events as associates of Tony D'Angelo. Now both of them, as well as Elektra Lopez, seem to be heading to the main roster soon, and we'll just have to see what happens next with Legado del Fantasma. As we mentioned earlier, WWE has brought back several big names to the roster, with fans excited to see who will be next to return. Well, it turns out WWE aren't just bringing back on-screen talent, but a rather important name is heading back to the company behind the scenes. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful has learned that WWE is interested in bringing back Ryan Katz, who served for 7 years as a writer for NXT. Working on the brand from 2015 to 2022, Katz was an integral part of what many consider the golden years of the brand, and Sapp added that there's been rumors that he's already back with the company. In his time away from WWE, Katz has been hosting a podcast with Road Dogg Jesse James, who has been rehired by the company. Like everyone who had been released from NXT's backstage department in January, Katz had worked closely with Triple H until the game lost control of the brand last September, but now the two could work together again on WWE's main roster. For over a year, WWE NXT and AEW Dynamite went head-to-head in the Wednesday Night Wars, competing for viewers in a war that AEW would win. The war only ended when NXT moved to Tuesday nights after WrestleMania 37, but now WWE and AEW are set to go one-on-one once more. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained how Dynamite and NXT 2.0 are on a collision course once again this October, thanks to baseball. AEW and WWE are both going to have dates changed because of the upcoming Major League Baseball playoffs, so it's not really going to affect anything until mid-October, but there will be an October 18th head-to-head on Tuesday night with Dynamite from Cincinnati and NXT. While AEW Dynamite dominated Wednesdays, they'll soon be coming to Tuesdays, a night NXT has been running for over a year, and expect packed shows from both companies in this latest battle for brand supremacy. Growing up, Triple H idolized Ric Flair, and when the two got a chance to team together, the Nature Boy made it clear that he is a huge fan of the game. Both on and off screen, the two were extremely close, but that is no longer the case, according to Ric himself. Speaking on his To Be the Man podcast, Flair said that he and the game are no longer thick as thieves, and explained why. "We had a big falling out over the trademark The Man issue, a big falling out. But I can guarantee you this, I will be at his funeral, and I guarantee you this, he will be at mine. Everybody else can say what they want to say, make of it what they want." The trademark dispute in question is when WWE tried to copyright The Man as the moniker of Becky Lynch, a term Flair felt naturally belonged to him. What resulted was a very bitter battle between the two sides, which ultimately was resolved out of court. It's safe to say that there will always be a level of respect between Ric Flair and Triple H, but the bond between them from before the Man trademark controversy has been broken and is unlikely to ever be fully healed. And we're ending with NXT 2.0, which saw a second-generation wrestler make his debut on the brand this week. On the show, Charlie Dempsey appeared in a segment with students of Andre Chase University and tried to teach them proper grappling techniques before blasting them as too soft. What fans may not know is that Dempsey is Bailey Matthews, the son of Darren Matthews, better known as AEW's William Regal. Dempsey's desire to train students in the art of grappling is certainly reminiscent of his father's days in WWE, as the British brawling family lives on despite William's release earlier this year. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.